Welcome to the Spunky Spirit podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Cari Mugz. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Spunky Spirit. I am psychic medium Cari Mugz. And today we are going to talk about grieving through Christmas. I was going to do grieving through the holidays, but Thanksgiving's already passed. And I kind of feel like I do this every year, but honestly, I need to. It's part of what I do. It's part of my job. And during the holiday season or during Christmas is one of the hardest times to get past the grief and the loss. And especially if especially during the first one, but honestly, it doesn't get easier. It's just every single Christmas. My dad passed over 20 years ago, and I still Christmas time, because he loved Christmas. He loved it. And so Christmas is hard because that's when all the memories are there. That's when, you have other memories besides Christmas, but that's when families get together. That's when loved ones get together and go over, just do lots of family stuff. And Christmas can be hard when you're grieving. It doesn't feel the same. It feels like it's lost its magic. It feels like it's lost its, just the luster of Christmas. And so I have done, Christmas episodes in the past where I have talked about my dad coming in and helping me with my Christmas lights in spirit, because I couldn't get my Christmas lights to work on my birthday. And I said, if you want to do something for me for my birthday, make my Christmas lights work. And the next day they did. And so there still can be the magic, but when we're in grief so much and we miss them so much, it's hard to find that. It's hard. And you still want to keep going for other people. You want to stay strong for others when inside you feel like everything is crumbling and everything is so hard. So I want mostly for you to know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that feel the same way, and we kind of bypass grief off as a culture. We act like it's something that you need to get over eventually, and reality, it's something you never will get over. When you lose a loved one, you lose a piece of who you are. Any part of your family, you lose a piece of you, because that's who we are, right? We're connected, and when we lose someone we love very much or deeply, we feel like we lose that connection, and in reality we don't. But when we're in grief, we can feel that way. So I want you to make sure that you give yourself some grace and do what you want to do. If you don't want to go to family functions, or if you want to, sit this one out, or if I have a lot of clients who are like, well, I can't put up the Christmas tree. They don't want to put up the Christmas tree because in the years past, it just reminds them too much of their loved one, right? So if you can't put up a Christmas tree, maybe do something different. Maybe do something like put up a different Christmas tree or a smaller tree, or maybe go on a trip this year or the first year, or maybe do something that's completely different. This is part of my busiest season during my mediumship it's because the holidays. And I also too will gift or do free readings for people have had recent losses during the holidays too, because it's just such a hard thing to get through. And I don't want to be on here and pretend like it's, oh, get over it. And they're really with you and you can just feel their spirit. And even though those are not the get over it part, but all of that stuff is true. They really are with you still. And they really are around, and they really do love you. And you can ask them to show you signs. But at the same time, it just doesn't make it okay still. It doesn't make it all better. Like, I used to think or hope that my readings would be like, okay, everything's all better now. And it's not like that. You have that. All readings really do is give you that glimmer of hope that they're still with you, and give you that evidence that they're still with you as you're doing certain things throughout your day. But when you go into the holiday season, and it's all about family and gatherings and love and everyone's happy, and you miss that part of you, it's so, so extremely difficult. And so I want you to give yourself some grace here. And, there's different things that you can do through the holiday season if you want to feel close to them, but sometimes they might be just way too hard. And so if putting up a Christmas tree is too hard for you because they were there last time you did it, or they always helped you, or they did this special thing, then don't do it. Do something different if it's too much for you or too hard for you. They're not going to be mad. But if you want to feel part of them and you want to feel them around, then do that Christmas tree thing. Just really feel how you're feeling. Really feel how you're going to navigate it, and know that there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. Everybody does it differently. And if you want to like put all their clothes on the bed and jump on the bed and just then do that. And if you want to put up their Christmas tree, their favorite Christmas tree, and play their favorite Christmas music, then do that. If that's too hard for you, then don't do it. Don't. If you're going to break down and cry, and I know people who can't even listen to music for the first couple months after a passing just because the songs will just have this big, huge effect on them. And grief is no joke. Grief is a brutal, and it shows no mercy. And so if you are at a point that it's hard for you to deal with it this holidays season, if you have to seek help, if you need to seek out professional help to help you get through that, or if you need to reach out to a friend who has the capacity to hold that space for you. And what I mean by hold that space is they allow you to grieve. They don't say things like at least, or at least this happened, or at least you got to do this, or at least. In fact, if you know of a grieving person this holiday season, do not say anything that begins with at least. It's the hardest thing. At least what? At least. It just makes no sense to the person grieving. It makes no sense in their brain. And just be careful about the things that you do say to people who, a lot of people, kind of vibe, they kind of not talk about the person, when in reality, when you lose somebody, you kind of want to talk about that person. You want to remember them and have their memory, and to do that, to keep them alive, is to talk about them. Talk about them a lot. And I did this in the beginning, not the beginning, but when, before I would do readings, before I knew about, how grief isn't, how intense grief is. When somebody would lose somebody, you would kind of like, it would be the elephant in the room, right? Like you wouldn't really talk about it, or you wouldn't bring it up. When in reality, sometimes that's all they want. They just want to remember that person, and they want to talk about them like the person hasn't passed. And so, and if you're grieving, also give other people some grace too, because they don't know. They don't know the pain you're feeling. And the suffering that you're feeling, and what you're feeling. And so give them a little bit of grace. Know that they mean well. But, don't say things like, they were, yeah, just be, it's so hard because there's really nothing you can say to make it better, right? There's nothing you can say. So don't try and make it better by saying something. Just know that they're loved, that person loved them so much, and it's okay to talk about them most of the time, that they want to remember them because they loved them so much, and they don't want them to be forgotten. And that's another thing too that you can do this holiday season. If it's not too painful, you can sing the songs that they loved. You can do the things that they loved. That you can do, the memories that you have. You can make a holiday memory book and write down all the memories that you have of that person in each holiday. I have a family that writes letters to, and this is hard too, right? Because they write letters to their past loved one every Christmas. They write letters, and for some of them, it's very, very, very therapeutic to write these letters to their past loved one at Christmas, and for some of them, it's too hard, and they hate it and they can't do it. So you do what you are capable of, and there is no right or wrong. If you are capable to write a letter to your loved one at Christmas time, do it. If you're not, then don't. And don't feel guilty about it. Everybody grieves differently. Everybody does everything differently. So if you just want to sit and cry on Christmas, then you can do that. Um, and if you don't want to sit and cry and you want to get out and you want to keep busy and you want to be around family, then do that. You get to do what you want. There is no rules about grieving. The most thing that I want you to know, or let you know, if you're grieving somebody this holiday season, is give yourself some frickin' grace. There's no handbook on how to do this. There's no right or wrong way on how to do this. And it's okay. It's okay if you cry. It's okay for in 1 minute you can be happier. You can be so happy and feel that person next to you or feel that person in spirit, and the next minute to be totally breaking down and crying, because that's what grief does. It's like the ocean, right? You're standing in a calm, cool ocean and you kind of like can feel the presence, and then all of a sudden the wave just comes up and knocks you flat down, and that's what grief does. It can be in a fleeting moment. It can be, you can be totally living a normal, having a healthy day, and all of a sudden a certain song comes on and you are on the floor in the fetal position. And that's just how grief is. And when it's hard to see everybody so happy and so, during the holiday season, so magical, so loving, so great, and the biggest part of you is gone, or a major part of you is gone, and you don't understand that happiness anymore. You don't, just know that that's okay. And I would say, give it time, but even time, sometimes, it's been over so many years that my dad's passed, and Christmas is hard because he loved Christmas so much, and so did my grandma. And so I just want you to give yourself some freaking grace on this, and know that you are not alone. And mostly to do the things that if you want to feel close to them, do the things that they love doing. Do the things, if you want to feel close to them, you know, do a, adopt a family in their honor, or do things in their honor, or do, because if they can't, I have a client that says, if not with you, then for you. And so if you can't do things with them, do things for them. If you're emotionally ready to do that, do things for them, do things in their honor, do things for other people in their honor. And the holidays are a great time to do that. If you're up for giving service or you're up for doing that, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you can barely get out of bed, and that's okay too. So just really feel how you're feeling, and kind of feel how your emotions are, and do what's right for you. And if that's giving to others and doing all that stuff, then do it. But if that's just like laying in bed Christmas Day and crying, do that too. The one thing I do want to is pain is pain. Pain is painful, and pain is so painful. And we've all dealt with pain, right? Pain is excruciating, and the loss of someone can be so excruciating. But don't choose to suffer. Okay? There's a difference. Pain is hard, and pain is hard to get through, and you feel it in the deep depth of your bones. But when you choose to suffer, that's different. And your loved ones would not want you to choose to suffer. So if you're choosing to not get better, or try and get, and that's hard too, because there's no time limit on that. But you just have to know that your loved ones don't want you to suffer. They don't want you to sit in the pain. They know it's painful, but they don't want you to choose to suffer. So if this Christmas, it's okay if you grieve. It's okay if you lay in bed and cry. But if you find yourself doing this to the point where you're not living your life, then you need to reevaluate this, or it's time to get professional help and try and help get through it. Because your loved ones feeling the pain is completely, and letting it process and letting it move through you is one thing. But choosing to sit in the suffer, and choosing to suffer, and choosing to be the victim is a whole nother ball game. Okay. And it doesn't mean that if you're choosing to lay in bed and cry, you're choosing to be a victim. You feel the pain and you process that. But if you use this to create more suffering, then try and use it to create more, something better. And if that's just even giving service to somebody else in their honor, or trying to and somehow make something look better. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, because grief is pretty. I just want you to give yourself some grace and love yourself regardless of how you're taking this, but also to, or how you're dealing with this grief, but also to look and see if it's affecting the way you live, and affecting, if you don't feel like there's any type of um, improvement within a few years at least, and you're always trying to stay in the suffering zone, then maybe kind of look at that, because that's not what your loved one would want. Your loved one wants to, on the other side, your loved one wants to be with you. Your loved one is with you. So if anybody else ever out there saying, oh, they're too busy on the other side, that is bull. They're with you, especially during the holidays, especially during the graduations, especially during all the things, because they're not in a body anymore. So they can be 10% with you and 10% doing something else, whatever they're called to do on the other side. But just know they're with you, especially in the times when you're in the pain and in the suffering, right? They want to help so badly to get out of that. And so they want to be with you. And so if you need to, ask for signs, ask for dimes, ask for pennies, ask for birds or feathers or butterflies, ask for something simple right at first if you need a sign. And give them time. They're not going to do it in the next hour. Give them time. And if you just say, give me a sign, that's not going to work either, because they could be giving you signs that you're not, and they could be dropping pennies everywhere and you're just not seeing the pennies. So be specific, and know that they need time. They need time to divinely guide that for you, right? So just know, if this is your first Christmas without your loved one, or if it's your 20th one, they do get easier, but they don't ever go away. And by easier, I just mean that the pain isn't as strong, right? Like, but there'll still be moments. There'll be moments I'll be doing something and I'll feel my grandma's presence, or I'll feel my dad's, and I'll be like, ugh, and that pain will show up for just a second. But I don't let it define me, and I don't let it stop me from living my life, because I know that that's not what they would want. But if I go in the bedroom and take a half hour to cry in the fetal position, I don't feel bad about doing that either. I process those feelings. So really, really give yourself some grace. I guess that's the message that I wanted to give, in this whole 25-minute, this podcast is let yourself feel all the things and give yourself some grace, and know that it's completely normal and there is no right or wrong way, and to love yourself regardless. But if you feel like you're falling down a slope that you can't get out of and you need help, then ask for help. That's okay too. It's okay to ask for help. And I just don't want you to be hard on yourself, because grief is really hard to talk about, because there is no definition of how to deal with it. There is no step-by-step process. There is no, this is how you do it. And so it's kind of like raising kids. You do it your way, right? You don't, and people will sometimes judge you on the way you do it, but they're tough. But I just want you to not fall so down the spiral that you feel like you can't get out of it, because there is still a lot of good left, and your loved one would want you to find that. But I also guarantee you too, when it is time, that loved one will be the first one there for you when you do your own transition. But it's not your time today. So try and do your damnedest. And you don't have to show up for anybody. You don't have to try and be strong for anybody. If you want to cry, cry. If you feel like you don't want to listen to music because it hurts so bad, then don't. You do you this holiday season, and try and find the magic in it. Try and find little glimpses of it, because the highest frequency you could be in is to be authentic, right? And you're not authentic if you're pretending it doesn't bother you. You're not authentic if you're pretending it doesn't hurt. So I'm not saying cover up those emotions. I'm saying feel those emotions and get through them. But don't choose to stay in them. Don't choose to stay in that suffering. Um, Earth is hard, and especially when you have grief and you lose somebody. And I just want you to know that I love you, and I am rooting for you, and I am so proud of you, incredibly, incredibly proud of you. Because if you're listening to this, then I know you're trying. You know you're trying, right? You don't choose to sit in the suffering. And so if you're listening to this, just know your loved one is with you right now, sitting there listening to this with you. Your loved one, your loved ones are with you while you're listening to this. Your loved ones are with you as you're baking or cooking for your family or doing the tree or driving down the street. Your loved one is with you. So talk to them. Talk to them like they're still there and tell them that you miss them. They're here, they hear you and they're listening and they know that you're there. And they will start, once they kind of know that you know that they're there, they'll start giving you signs and they'll let you know that they're around. So you matter. You're still here for a reason. And they are your new guardian angel and they do watch over you. And they watch over you. I mean, I'm just the littlest random things come through for readings. Like they were with you yesterday when you had steak for dinner. So they know. They know and they know you miss them. They know you love them. And they love you. And they're with you. And they're not mad. They, they carry stuff over there. They see their life review. They see how things played out and they see why people do the things that they do and they don't. They can come through sometimes in readings with frustration for situations, but they're never mad at people or at life. There can be frustration, but they're never, and I've honestly never had, maybe, their emotions on the other side is like a level 2 or ours are like level 10. And the only reason they even kind of express emotion is because they want us to know how that's how they communicate, right? Because that's how we communicate with our emotions. But they can be frustrated with situations. And because if somebody's like going through something and they choose the suffering or they're having addiction issues, they can show concern for that. But they don't judge. They never judge and they always love. And so just know they're not disappointed in you. They're not mad at you. They love you and they're with you. They are with you. And I hope that helps this holiday season. I hope that makes talk to them because it just tunes in their frequency. In the olden days when we have a radio station and we would tune into the radio station, it'd all be all static. And then as soon as we dialed in, that's when you talk to them. That's what you do. You dial in and you listen to them and they listen to you and they can answer back. And, just depending on how you hear it, right? But if you're stuck in grief, if you're stuck at that and you kind of, it's harder for them to reach you. So just know it's not anything you've done. It's just harder sometimes for them to be able to reach you. So they'll use things like pennies or dimes or butterflies or any of that kind of stuff to get your attention. So, and sometimes they don't, a lot of times people are like, I know this lost loved one is around and I need to know what they're trying to tell me. Sometimes they're not trying to tell you anything. Sometimes they don't have, most of the time, they don't have this big, huge, like, you need to know this. Most of the time they're just like, I'm here. I'm freaking here with you. And I love you. And I'm so incredibly proud of you. And I know that's super general, but I want you to picture like if you were to pass and you were to come through, what would you want to tell your loved one? I'm here. I'm here. And I love you. And I'm so freaking proud of you. That's what you want to tell them. So just know that that's what they're saying. And you've got this. I know people all the time. You do have this. I know people all the time are like, you're strong. It's because you have no choice but to be strong, right? If you had any other choices, you wouldn't, but you have no choice but to be strong. So give yourself some grace. You be incredibly proud of you, no matter how you handle this holiday season. You root for you because they are. And it doesn't matter what anybody else around you thinks. It's what you feel. Process those feelings. Know that they're normal. Let them wash through you, and do what you can to not choose to be in the suffering. I love you guys so much, and so badly, I wish so badly there was just a phone call that you could, I mean, you can use a medium, yes, then they validate but I wish I had that. I wish I had that gift to just send you all the phones so you could connect for at least, 20 or 30 minutes. But you really do have it already. You already have that phone. You just have to believe in it, and you have to know that you have that power, and you have to trust yourself, and you have to listen. So I love you guys so much. I'm so incredibly, incredibly proud of you, and I'm rooting for you, and I love you. And I hope that you have the best Christmas ever. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing a podcast next week because I usually record on Mondays, and I will be out of town Monday because I'm going to, there is another Monday, I think, though, before Christmas. So we'll see. We'll see. There might be a Monday that gets skipped. I'm kind of debating actually if I need to like stop podcasts for the end of the year because I'm kind of going to revamp for next year. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel. Sometimes I feel like I really want to like come on here, and I feel really pulled by spirit to give you a message. And then sometimes I just feel like, okay, things are good. But so we'll kind of see. But just know I love you guys, and you have the magic already inside you. For you to connect to your loved ones, you already have the magic inside of you. You might not feel it, and you might not know it, but you do. So I love you guys so much, and I will hopefully talk to you next week.